So a few days ago, I was watching a YouTube video, and it was about a YouTuber who was essentially just kind of talking about how they were going to improve their financial management, their money management in the new year in 2023. And they started talking about saving and investing and paying off debt. And at that moment, only after mentioning those few words, saving, investing, and paying off debt, that a lot of feelings started to come up for me. And I know why this is. And it's because this year I've been kind of just thinking about how we have spent more money than what the law should really allow. And a lot of it has to do with various factors. So we both work in public education now, my husband and me. My husband has been working in public education before me, but I joined public education in January of this year. So almost a full year. And since then, we've had a whole summer break off. So two and a half months off together. We've had spring break, Thanksgiving break. We're about to have a Christmas break. We've had different holidays. I mean, it has been 2022 has been the time of our lives when it comes to marriage and just being able to be together and all of that. And by that, I mean that, well, that could also be why we had our largest argument that we've ever had in 10 years this year, because we spent a lot of time together. But truly, it's just been lots of quality time and we regret none of it. I think there's a notion maybe or misconception that married couples, because they live together, typically spend all of their time together, but that has not always been the case. We've always worked opposite shifts. I remember a time my husband had 2 jobs, I had 2 jobs, and I remember a time he worked like a morning shift primarily for his full-time job. My full-time job was evening. Then there was a time where it was reversed and he was working late and I was working and I was getting off at a decent hour. And so only until now, after 10 years, is it where we are off together and able to hang out and just know that we'll be leaving for work around the same time, getting home around the same time. We have the weekends off. That was always a thing. We never had weekends off together. So it's been amazing, but we've spent so much money because of it. I think it finally started to settle in around September. We both have birthdays in September, and that's when following summer break, that's when I was like, wow, we've been spending a lot of money. Our niece had come down for the summer and was able to be down here off with, she's come here before, but people have come to visit us before, nieces and stuff like that. But she was actually here during our first ever summer off together. So needless to say, the 3 of us were into some things and we've just spent a lot of money. And so I think that's kind of what triggered my thinking about all this money that we've spent. Again, we regret none of it, but it has been a lot of money. And in doing so, it has aided in us not meeting our financial goals for this year. I don't really specifically remember what those were, but I know we're not going to meet them whatsoever. Specifically our FIRE goals. We are a part of trying to be a part of the FIRE movement, which is Financial Independence Retire Early. Before we even knew what FIRE was, we were interested in retiring early or making work more optional as we got older. So basically how this is working in our brain is that the older that we get, the more money we should have saved and invested, thereby making working full time less and less necessary and more optional as we get older. So that kind of just translates to the FIRE movement. But in essence, as we get older, we should have more money saved, more money invested, and there should come a time where work becomes optional, because that is the case for everyone. It's just that, at some point work has to be optional for everyone technically, because we can't work until we die. I mean, some people I guess do, but the idea is that, that's not the case. The traditional retirement age continues to rise each year, I feel like, but I feel like when I first started to learn about it, it was like 60, then it was like 62, now it's like 65, 67. So it's getting higher and higher, and which is somewhat of a problem for us, I guess, because again, I would like, as I get more and more elderly, to have more and more money saved, therefore not having to rely on working a full-time job until the day that I die. But anyway, the moral of the story is that I was thinking, as this person was talking about starting their journey, so I was kind of like feeling sorry for us, essentially, self-pity, if you will, for pretty much the past few months, especially as the end of the year is getting here. We're about to go meet with our financial advisor. Not editing this video, by the way, so I hope it comes out fine, but not even gonna watch it through. I'm gonna put it on my computer and on my iPad and upload it. But we're about to meet up with our financial advisor, which we tend to do annually. We do talk throughout the year, but there's really not a lot to talk about. We set our goals and we just run with it. Everything's automated and they know what to do. If I need to reach out to them, I do. But for the most part, we're about to meet with our financial advisor for our annual meeting. Again, I don't really remember the goals that we set specifically. I would have to go watch one of my videos or find the planner or wherever I wrote those goals. But, you know, I've been thinking like, yikes, this meeting's coming up. I'm sure we have not met our investing goals. And it's not because we don't have the ability to do so. So as I've been reflecting, I've been thinking about, well, the major thing that I was thinking about is, first of all, you know, I'm not here to compare myself or our situation to anyone else's, but I was just thinking about, as this person was starting and getting started with their journey, how, you know, that person may be experiencing a certain set of adverse feelings due to being in the position that they're in, which is not a position that they want to be in. And then I'm also simultaneously, while in a different position, completely different position, you know, I'm not getting started with paying off credit card debt because we don't have credit card debt. I'm not getting started with trying to do this or do that because I'm not trying to buy my first house, or we're not trying to do any of those things because we've already accomplished those things, but we are in a different position. But the point that I'm trying to drive home is that whatever feelings she was sharing, that person was sharing, that she was experiencing, are also the same feelings that I'm experiencing, although I'm in a completely different place in my financial journey. And when I say my, I mean our, but this is my channel, and for all intents and purposes, I'm here talking and sharing my experience. So when I say my, I also mean my. But anyway, what was interesting to me, or what has been interesting to me, is that, you know, I was just thinking about, while I was living in my self-pity, about how the end of the year is here and we do have to show for it, but we don't have as much to show for it as we could have because we've been reckless and running the streets. I mean, literally anything that we want to have ever wanted to do, we've essentially done it in 2022. I mean, we've been busting these streets wide open, just painting the town. We've gone to plays, we've gone to amusement parks, we've gone to concerts, we've gone to literally anything that we've ever wanted to do, but have never really either been in a position to do it freely without there being some financial repercussions, or that we've not done because we were, you know, had some lofty financial goals. We've done those things. Again, I regret nothing, but again, when you are purposefully reckless and you set rather lofty goals, if you will, and you don't stick to those goals because you're reckless, then the consequences that you don't meet those financial goals, and you have to live with that. So you have to look at yourself in the mirror. And so by you have to look at yourself in the mirror, I'm talking about me. And so what I've been reminding myself of is that, and what I am here to talk about, that's actually the point of this video, so to speak, is that, you know, I've had to tell myself, like, Shay, you guys, whenever you started this financial journey, paid off a bunch of credit card debt, you paid off a car loan, you saved up a down payment to build and purchase your first home, a brand new home, obviously, because it was built. You've accomplished a lot of things. I'm not here to go on and on about them in this video. I've already kind of reconciled with myself, but I've thought about all the things that we have accomplished and how those sometimes get, we kind of forget about those things because we're so focused on what all we have left to accomplish or what all we have left to do. And so I'm here today to remind you that if at the beginning of this year, if 5 years ago, if 10 years ago, you were living paycheck to paycheck and you made it your goal and your mission to not live paycheck to paycheck, then that's something to be celebrated, and you're doing better than what you once were. You're probably doing better even than what you think you are. I am completely aware of the fact that I am a person who shares their financial journey online, and I know that sometimes the goals that we set are so far-fetched when it comes to maybe someone else's situation. It's not anything that I can change. I can't change my spending habits that are not out of this world. I'm just naturally a person who likes to kind of, save money. Same for my husband. His spending habits are pretty much non-existent. Although he did buy himself a nice Christmas gift, so I'm proud of him for that. And he didn't harass me about if he could purchase it, because he's always asking me. It's almost like he needs permission from someone to spend a large amount of money. And so naturally that person becomes me. But I love when he can make executive decisions on his own about something that he wants. Like when he went off, I think last year, and bought this guitar. It was like $100 and some dollars, maybe $200. But I love that for him because, well, if I'm being honest, I just buy the things that I want. So I think that he should be able to as well. But he's really, really, really tight with I'm talking like if he's purchasing something expensive or something, that's over $20 or whatever, he tries to get me to press the pay now button because he doesn't have the capacity to do it. I'm laughing about it, but it's true, and we laugh about it, but it's a true story. But I'm proud of him for that. But anyway, we are naturally people who are interested in saving money and investing money and being financially free and financially independent. I can't change that about myself. We can't change our salary. I can't change the degrees that I have that have afforded me the salary that I have. My husband can't do that either. And so I'm not, remorseful of being in this situation or wanting to be in any situation, or I don't feel privileged, I guess, overly privileged, I guess, if you will, for being in this situation. But I do recognize that my being in this situation often means that the people who are coming to me, especially if they are new or have a lower income or whatever the case is, that the goals that I may be setting may seem far-fetched. So I'm aware of that. I'm so aware of that I don't even know where I was going with that point, but I'm gonna get it together. This is a natural result of not planning out your content. But sometimes, well, I almost never plan out my content. I know the video that I'm gonna film, I just don't know what I'm gonna say in the video. I just think about it before I sit down for a few minutes, and then I'm just off the dome with it. That's just my preferred way of delivering content. I don't want it to be all perfect and curated and whatever. I would never edit a video if I could, but sometimes I lose my train of thought because I'm coming off the dome and I have to chop out like parts, or my dog barking, or that type of thing. I have to cut out that, or them working, because we live in a newer community that they're building up, so they're always working and loud. Not today though, so I appreciate that. But anyway, I can't change the situation that I am in, and I do recognize that I am in a situation that may seem far-fetched to some people. But the point that I'm trying to drive home is that while I recognize that, I also recognize that I can look at other people and do look at other people and, I guess wish that I would have been better with my money. Like right now, we're planning a Christmas party and I've begun ordering things for it. Wings. We always provide wings for our little gatherings. We're buying different little gifts because we're doing games and stuff like that. And it's starting to add up. And so I'm just thinking like, wow, I watch people on YouTube, or I know of people who, they're not planning parties. They're not going on multiple date nights per month. They're not doing all these different things. So their money is going much further than ours. They're probably meeting their financial goals. They're probably making some real good strides towards financial freedom and all of that. Meanwhile, we are spending the money that we do. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, everybody's goals are different. Everybody's values are different. I value, because I live in a place, I moved to where my husband is from, and I live here with him and not where my peoples are from. I value my peoples coming to visit and then us having a little Christmas party. I've planned this Christmas party around some of my peoples coming to visit. And so, so I can get them together with the friends that I've made here and the people who I have here, the family members who I have here, through my husband, and friends who we're so close, co-workers and stuff that we're, like little families. So I value being able to get them together. It doesn't have to be something where, it could be free, it could be cheap or whatever, but I want to play games. I want to give people prizes. I want to feed people some wings. I want to, do that type of stuff. And so sometimes I'm like, wow, the way that we are spending money is we probably could change it, or it's probably not the way that other people are spending their money, hence the reason why they're saving more or investing more or paying off more debt. But then I have to remind myself that, first of all, this is a marathon and not a sprint. Second of all, I'm not in competition with anyone, because no one cares really and truly. No one's life is going to be impacted by our financial situation. So therefore, we're not in competition with anyone. And I have to remind myself that everyone's values and goals are the same. But I guess I just wanted to come here to share that even in the situation that I'm in, I still sometimes feel inadequate and that we're blowing money fast, because we are. But I like it that way. I don't like to blow money fast, don't get me wrong. But the things that we spend money on are fun. Like, we just went to a Christmas play. That was fun to us. We like going to try new restaurants and stuff like that. Those things are fun to us. They cost money. We like doing free things, but not everything that we want to do in life is going to be free unless somebody pays for us, which they're not, because no one gives us money, no one pays our bills. So as I was living in my self-pity, I was also thinking that, wow, Shay, where you were 10 years ago is not where you are now. Where you were 5 years ago is not where you are now. There are lots of things and goals that you have actually accomplished, and you should be proud of that. So I'm here to remind you, or to share with you, that if that is also the case for you, if you also struggle with feelings of inadequacy, and that's where I was going with this, that I know that I could potentially aid in that if you watch me. I realize that, especially back in the day, we used to save like $3,000-$4,000 a month. That's kind of wild. Now we kind of blow through $2,000 probably and save / invest $2,000. Fix it, Jesus. We're going to get it together for 2023. Stay tuned for our 2023 budget and our 2023 goals, which we'll finalize after we talk to our advisor. But that's kind of where I was going with that I know that I could be contributing to those feelings. But truly, if you were living paycheck to paycheck last year and you're not now, you're doing great. If you had a $20,000 balance on your car 2 years ago and now it's $16,000, $12,000, $3,000, you're doing great. If you knew nothing about investing last year and all you've done now is learn about investing, you haven't even actually invested money, you're doing great. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is wealth as well. Investing is scary, by the way. I feel like we need to normalize that. If you grew up in poverty like I did, if you had no knowledge of investing and you had to teach yourself, investing can be a little scary. We've kind of gotten used to it, which is why we have the financial advisor. I don't think without him we would have ever started just freely investing thousands of dollars per month. So the goal is that once we're really comfortable, we will essentially fire our financial advisor. But I don't see that being for a little while. At least another year or so. I feel more confident, but I'm not there yet. So investing can be scary. I want to normalize that as well. But I'm just here to say that comparison is the thief of joy. If you made even the slightest movement from A to B, A to C, A to D, and you haven't made it to Z yet, if you've even made the slightest progress towards change, you're doing great. There's no one that you would ever need to be in competition with. This is not a sprint. Truly, because who are we racing against? And that's another thing. Sometimes I feel like I'm in a rush to do something financially specifically, because that's about the only thing I've rushed through. If you leave it to my husband, he says I do everything slowly. But truly, who are we in a rush against? We're not in a rush against anybody. We're not racing against anybody. The only thing on the other side of us rushing through life is literally death. So which is my rationale for doing things slowly. My rationale is that I should take my time cooking or cleaning or whatever. I shouldn't have to rush through it, because rushing through life means that my life ends more quickly. That's my rationale. Might be toxic, but that's my thought process. But truly, this is no race. There is no rush. On the other side of paying off all of your debt is probably less anxiety, less worry, financial freedom for you and your household and your dependents. There are no true accolades on the other side of that. People will applaud you once you've finished, if you share that with people, and give you a hand clap. But after that, there's no medal on the other side of paying off your debt in a year versus someone else who may have taken 2 years to pay off theirs, or 3 years to pay off theirs. So in a world where there can be a rush, especially to meet financial goals and all of that, I feel like we should normalize that this is a marathon and not a sprint, and you can take all the time that you need. Because truly, I say this all the time, outside of the people in your house and your dependents, because some of them could live outside of your home, like your college-aged children, who is really impacted by your finances? Nobody. Not your neighbor. Your neighbors probably don't care how much money you make. Not your friends or your family members. Your inherent worth isn't dependent upon how quickly you can pay off debt or how much money you have saved. Nobody, most of that information people don't freely share anyway, so nobody even really knows what your financial situation is. So truly, set your goals, determine what your values are in life. My one true value is to retire much sooner than the traditional retirement age. Mainly I know this is forward thinking, but really I want to kind of be more accessible to my future children and grandchildren and family. Like, I want to spend time being as much as family oriented as I possibly can, and not be 75 and working full time. That's kind of one of my motivating factors. But more of the story, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You're not in competition with anyone. Figure out what your values are, create your goals, and adjust them accordingly. You might see someone else have a goal of retiring early, aka me, but that might not be anything that you care about. You might be the person who thinks retirement would be boring. Whereas if I retired today, my life would truly begin. I would be visiting here, visiting there. I have so many nieces and nephews. I have siblings. I have so many family members and friends who I don't get to see regularly because I'm at work, who I could go visit and hang out with. My life would truly begin. Especially if I were retired with my husband, my life would truly begin. I'd probably have a kid like tomorrow if I were retired now. In fact, that would probably put some pep in my step. But you could potentially be that person who is not at all concerned with retiring early, and that's fine, because you don't want other people's values to become yours. That's where there becomes confusion. You don't want other people's goals to become yours. That's where confusion comes in. That I feel like that's where comparison comes in, and all of that comes into play. Sometimes when I think about the people who aren't spending money like I'm spending money, and so therefore they're saving money, it's kind of like giving. I'm a huge giver. That's not going to ever change. It's always been the same. Me and my husband just tipped a waiter $100 just the other day during our date night. That's something that's a value of mine. This waiter is amazing, and we just wanted to show our appreciation by tipping the bill, more than the bill, but tipping a decent amount, because that's just one way that we can give back. We try to do those types of things like that regularly. We like helping out people with different things. I don't really talk a lot about the giving, because I'll talk about the giving if I feel like it, but I don't talk about who's on the other side of the giving. That's not my cup of tea at all. But, it has been nothing for us to pay rents and just help people out in whatever way that we can help out people. That's a value of mine. I think that's what life is about. Me personally, there are other people, and I'll look at their budget, and there might not be giving or any of that in their budget, or they might be giving, but it might be a smaller amount, and that's their prerogative. That's their value. That's whatever. It has nothing to do with me. So anyway, I realize we are at 25 minutes, and so I'm going to end this at 25 minutes exactly. I hope that you guys found this video to be helpful. If you did, give it a like. Subscribe if you're new and if you're liking what you're seeing, and I will catch you guys right back here in a few days in a brand new video that probably won't be a rant, but very well could be because I am about to be off of work for winter break, and that's when the rants come, when I'm at home with nothing to do. So anyway, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye guys.